Pleasant good afternoon to everybody. We've heard Dr. Reda discuss the clinical aspect of vestibular conditions and Dr. Dalia presenting common musculoskeletal conditions. I will now be talking about another area of physical therapy that not a lot of people are aware of, and that's one of the practice setting, which is community-based rehabilitation. And I'm very privileged to give the presentation for this afternoon, which is Study Protocol Managing Community-Based Rehabilitation in Physical Therapy Academic Programs in the Philippines. Okay. So right now, the World Health Organization has estimated that around a billion people live with some form of disability, and that this represents around 15% of the world's population. 80% of those afflicted with some form of disability live in emerging countries and nations. And nearly 110 to around 190 million people experience some significant disability. Now, if you try to look at it in a regional aspect, in Asia alone, it is indicated that around by the year 2050, 1 out of 4 individuals will be around 60 years of age and above. And also, it has been mentioned that 30 to 40% of those will be above 60 years of age. And looking at those statistics, it would indicate that there is an increasing risk of increasing impairments with increasing age because the population demographics is transformational, it's dramatic. People are aging. And as a result of this, there is an increasing awareness on the importance of disability, particularly on disability inclusive development on the global aspect. Well, a lot of strategies have been developed, a lot of models have been developed, and they have been proposed, adopted, and implemented. Basically, if you try to look at it, 1978 alone, the WHO had anticipated that there will be a problem on disability. And they launched the CBR, which is Community Based Rehabilitation, which is a program to enhance the quality of life for people with disabilities through the use of community initiatives. Now, it was defined as a community action to ensure that people with disabilities would have equal access and opportunities. And what are these things? They should have equal access to healthcare, education, skills training and employment, a family life, social mobility, and the most important thing of all, political empowerment. Okay, so around 16 years after the WHO had launched its own definition, in 1994, there were 3 important lead agencies which more or less were responsible for empowering people with disabilities. These are the UNESCO, the ILO, and the WHO. And they came up with a new joint definition. It was defined as a strategy within community development for the rehabilitation, equalization of opportunities, and the social integration of people with disabilities. Okay. So if you try to look at the literature, much has been written about the advantages of CBR. And according to Sharma and Cornelius in 2009, it is a fundamental approach to improve the well-being of people with disabilities by fostering their participation into the community and society at large. Mitchell has identified CBR as the most effective approach. Why is it cost effective? Because you are doing it in the community, okay, in comparison with people who are receiving rehabilitation in the hospitals as well as in the tertiary clinics. Now, in the Asia Pacific region, it is a rich region for heritage and values for community resilience. In Indonesia and Malaysia, we have the concept of gotong royong. Okay, and gotong royong is a common concept there which is based on reciprocity and mutual help. If you go to the Republic of Korea, you have the concept of Sumol Undong. And Sumol Undong is integrated rural disability movement based on the spirit of diligence, self-help, and cooperation. In the Philippines, we have what you call your bayanihan. People in the community will be assisting people who needs help in a particular community. So culturally, these kind of advantages fit into a cultural aspect. So these cultural resources blend with and lend themselves to a CBR framework. Okay. Now, initially, when we started with the WHO CBR concept way back in 1978, there were only a few countries who believed in CBR. However, over the past few decades, a lot of countries have started to adopt it. And currently, there are around 100 signatories with 172 parties, consisting of around 171 states, and the EU, which had signed the Convention of the Rights of People with Disabilities as of December 16, 2016. And okay, looking back or in reference to what we have been discussing, the Philippines became one of the earliest countries to have adopted it, wherein the state university started fielding interns, its CBR, to an adopted community wherein physical therapists, occupational therapists, and speech pathologists were sent to render CBR training to an adopted community. They have to live with the PWD and their families for 2 months without seeing their families. In 1981, there was the establishment of CBR model communities throughout the archipelago together with the DOH using the WH model. And in 1998, there was the establishment of the first urban based CBR communities in selected rural communities as well, integrated for CBR training for PT and OT students in EAC Manila. And I'm very privileged to have been part of that because I was the dean of the college at the time when we started it. And until now, it has received local recognition for its CBR training. So currently, all PT and OT schools right now, as recently as around 8 years ago, they've integrated CBR training in their PT curriculum. And looking back in 20, I think 2010, it was recognized by the WHO that CBR is a comprehensive strategy for implementing the Convention of the Rights of People with Disabilities. So, in line with that, we have an agenda for sustainable development, where individuals should have access to developmental projects and realization of human rights. And we are looking towards 2030, which is the agenda for sustainable development, wherein CBR is viewed or could be ushering a new era or catalyst for community change through inclusive growth and sustainability. So there is literature providing evidence regarding its integration right now, and there is no universally agreed criteria for its evaluation. There is no formal study that gathers data on the inclusion, management, and implementation of integrated CBR management, as well as there was no published literature regarding this. No? So especially that there are no CBR service providers which are academic in nature. That's why we want to publish it in with the Asia Pacific Disability and CBR Journal, which is the standard journal for CBR in the world right now. So, what is the purpose why we are doing this? Basically, CBR is integrated and managed in academic programs. We want to determine how it's managed. And secondly, provide recommendations in the indicators used for its improvement and evaluation. The main objectives are number one, you want to first determine the profile according to program structure, level of integration, CBR programs and services, as well as CBR interventions. The second major objective is determining the current status and extent of implementation in CBR programs according to management, CBR training, sustainability of the program, and areas of development. And of course, lastly, we want to identify the issues and problems we encounter. So the design will consist primarily of a survey, which we will distribute among the different heads and department chairmen of the different public and private universities. And the sampling that we will be conducting is a two-stage cluster sampling. The inclusion criteria would involve private and public state universities, current existing CBR programs in a BSPT program, and the CBR program must be active and solely managed by the department. Those excluded will be discontinued CBR programs managed by non governmental organizations, and colleges and universities which do not show any evidence of its implementation. A questionnaire will be distributed wherein it is divided into three major parts based on the objectives, based on its ROL, and the guidelines for um, CBR given by the Commission on Higher Education. This will be pilot tested to ensure validity. Lastly, of course, there will be three important phases: the preparation phase, the implementation phase, as well as the data collection and analysis and interpretation. Of course, the summary would involve that you'd be able to use the information and make the appropriate recommendations needed in the programs. It will be used in effective planning and implementation in the future, as well as the baseline data can be used to provide for policy-making initiatives, and most significantly, the improvement of delivery of CBR services. Okay. Basically, I'd like to thank the people who are helping with this research because it took a while for us to really go ahead with this because it entails a nationwide survey. And the Philippines is made up of 18 regions, 81 provinces scattered throughout 7,654 islands. So it really takes a lot of effort on our part, and we have started it, and we are doing cluster sampling. And as of yesterday, we have distributed the questionnaires and chosen the provinces as well as the cities which are conducting the survey right now. So hopefully, in a month's time, 2 months' time, we'll be done with the survey and hopefully present it in the Asian Pacific Congress for CBR, scheduled in, I think, Singapore in a year's time. So hopefully, we'll be able to accomplish that. I thank the College of Graduate Studies and Research, my co-faculty members, and of course, my students for being here. Thank you, and a pleasant good afternoon to everybody. Doctor, yes.
Thank you very much, Dr. Pocholo, for very nice, interesting. I think it's very important issue, the CBR, that community rehabilitation base. My question is that, okay, you are looking through a system where you have an education part of it, that you are
Yes.
educating your physiotherapist, occupation therapist,
And speech
speech, and
pathologist, yes.
could be more than that also. I mean, it can
Be
be
more
included
than that.
nursing, could be, I mean, there's
Mhm.
physicians that could be involved.
Doctor, only for this particular part, because only the state university has speech pathologists.
Yeah.
So other schools have occupational therapists, but we are just focusing on the PT because most of
Okay.
the schools, some
Yeah.
schools don't have OT, occupational therapist. So we're just focusing on
on
the
that.
physical therapist.
So my point is, this is one part of it.
This
The
is one
other part is the patient who would be focused on that. The third part I think is extremely important, and nobody's looking through, is the infrastructure.
Okay.
Because with whatever you done, if the infrastructure by the government is not forced for this disabled, whatever you do there, then they have that uh, uh, problem to be implemented. For example, you train somebody on wheelchair and you really prepare them very well. When they get out, they do not find the access. And I think one of the things, it's my suggestion to be involved as a survey. How much this infrastructure is there?
Okay. Doctor, that's why I think part of the second objective is how much of the infrastructure is made available by the academic program for the PWD community. Because right now, most of the local governments are assisting the schools. But we would want to more or less have an idea, how do the schools really envision themselves in fitting the CBR program into their infrastructure? So I guess that would be another area of research in the future if we would be given the opportunity. But right now, we were focusing on each region has its own cultural difference. And if you've been to the Philippines, one area is different, the South is different, and everybody has its own concept of running a CBR program, though there is a unified guideline. So we would like to more or less see um, how do you do it primarily in the north? How do you do it in the middle part? How do you do it in the south? So I think that is one thing which we would like to come up with, having a data and seeing where these differences lie. We will be doing a content analysis first of the data before we do some further research on this. So I guess based on the review of systematic literature that has been conducted in other parts of the world, but not in an academic setting. So this one is the first study that a PT program is being evaluated. And I think that's the most important thing. And this is the good thing about this is my co-researcher are based in the Philippines. So I got some people to help me out with this. And he's the Philippine Physical Therapy Association president. He was my protege after, after quite some time. And he's very helpful because he's the one doing all the cluster sampling and everything. I'm just guiding him throughout the research because I've been involved with this for quite some time. So we managed to have 73 schools and we're clustering them basically. So that's the thrust right now for our program, ensuring that we get enough clusters and getting the right responses for the research. That's what we're doing. And I've been very thorough with how we do it actually on a regular basis.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor.
Right, I missed the first part of the presentation.
Okay, thank you.
This may be an completely. I missed the first part. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I missed the first part of the presentation, so this could be a completely irrelevant question. But what's stopping you from replicating this study in Bahrain?
Actually, here in Bahrain, one, I think the cultural barrier would be a problem. And basically, it's like this. The models used of CBR training in the Philippines makes use of a transdisciplinary approach, which is different from the one here in Bahrain, which is more of a multidisciplinary or interdisciplinary approach. So the model use is different. When we say transdisciplinary approach, let's say we have a community. There is no occupational therapist, there is no speech pathologist. But what happens before the physical therapist is immersed into the community, they would have training of basic occupational therapy skills and speech pathology skills before they get immersed into the community. So that when they go to the community, even though some of the patients require OT or SP, the PT will be there to give basic occupational therapy skills and speech pathology skills. Unfortunately, we don't have that kind of a setting here in Bahrain. Okay, and secondly, um, your community should be willing enough to accommodate you. Here, it's a home-based therapy thing. There, uh, our interns have to live with a person with disability for 2 months. Why? They have to train the family members so that when they leave, the family members, even though they don't have the funds, they can treat the person with disability. And the person with disability becomes empowered and can train other members within the community. In this way, the community becomes self-reliant and people become empowered in the process. The key word in CBR is empowerment, which is the fifth and most important part of the CBR matrix.